Hi guys, welcome to Something Saturday. So today I thought I would show you something that popped up in my news feed the other day. A while ago I made these cards, quite a while ago admittedly, and obviously one of them just popped up in my news feed as Facebook does and says, oh, we thought you might like to remember this. And I went, oh, that's really cool. So I actually posted it and said, who wants to learn how to make this? And Kelly said, yes, I do. So thanks, Kelly, because you're now going to learn how to make it. So this is what the card is. And that's what happens. So you go from just a plain image through to a coloured in image. And it's called a magic slider card. So that's the one that I'm using. I'm going to quickly show you what it is that I'm using to make this card. So let's bring over my catalogues because it's usually easier to see it in the catalogue. So I'm actually going to change up the colours. So this particular one, I used different colours. So I used the cherry cobbler in the background of this with a bit of garden green. And then this ribbon, is in this catalogue and I didn't mark it. That was really clever. Now, let's just pop the glasses on. Love the index on these because it makes it so much easier to find things. Oh, excuse me. Cherry cobbler and gold ribbon, page 17. So, oh look, there it is. But that's not it. So, page 17, it's there. It's in this gorgeous painted Christmas suite. I think these are really cute as well, but that's got cherry cobbler in it, and the colour that I wanted in the background at the time was cherry cobbler, so I went with that. And then the designer series paper that I've used in the back here is actually in the annual catalogue, and that's the Christmas paper that's in the annual catalogue. It's the only one, and I'll just quickly show it to you. All my tabs. Holidays. There it is. So it's called, what's it called? Tidings of Christmas 6x6 designer series paper. So that's what I used around the outside of this particular card because it's got cherry cobbler in it again, and that's what I wanted. However, I'm going to ring the changes this time because, I kind of prefer it if I don't have to make the same card lots of times. So this time I'm going to use some of this absolutely gorgeous Blushing Bride frayed gross grain ribbon. And that's in part of the Whimsy and Wonder suite, which hopefully you've already seen. I'm actually doing a class which you can order to have sent directly to you. So that is that one. Then I'm going to use these papers, which are the, what are they called? Harvest Meadows 6x6 designer series papers. So I've got these ones here. And even though it doesn't have Blushing Bride in it, I kind of figure that that's pretty close to the Blushing Bride. So that's those. And let me just pop that away. And the main stamp set that I'm using on both cards, you'll be relieved to know, is this Delicate Dahlias. So I have to apologise to you guys because I honestly thought this was a $90 stamp set. So you order $90 of goodies and you can get this one for free, but it's not. It's $180, and for some reason I thought this was the only $180 set in the Celebration catalogue. So you actually only have until the end of September to be able to get this stamp set, and oh my gosh, it is gorgeous. You can actually see the different things that they've done with it here, and this is the stamp set itself. And these flowers just come out so realistically, as you can see. It's amazing. Anyway, let's move on and make the card and show you how to do this. Let's pop it to one side. I am going to want, where's that paper gone to that I was going to use? Great, it's disappeared. Of course it has. There it is. That's the one that I want to use. Let's pop the rest of the paper out of the way there. Alrighty. So you're going to need to start with, so you will have a piece of A4 cardstock, which is double this size. Cut it in half. So this would now be 10.5 centimeters. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fold this into 3. So to fold this into 3, you actually score it at 9.9 centimeters. So 9, hopefully you can see this all right. 9.9, and you really don't want to cut it at this point, so make sure you've got your scorer. And then turn it round and do the same thing. 9.9. And then you should be able, yes, it worked. Woohoo! I know I shouldn't be so surprised, but woohoo, it worked. All right, so that will give you a 3-fold card like that. Now, what I've then done is I've taken my Layering Circles framelits, and I think this is the largest circle, and I'm actually going to cut out that piece there. So I've aimed to cut it higher rather than lower, simply because if I wanted to write a saying into there, I could then fit a saying onto there. Whereas if I put it right in the middle, then by the time I've got this on here as well, I won't be able to have room for a saying as well. So let me bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So you might have one of these, or you might have a Big Shot or a Cuttlebug or something different. But the general idea is that you have a base plate, which is that one. You have a smaller sort of lift up plate for this sort of thin dies. And then you have 2 of these acrylic plates. So pop your cardstock down and aim for this sort of near the top. I'm just going to find my other acrylic plate. So then the other acrylic plate, so that looks like it's about even to me. The other acrylic plate goes on top of that and cuts it through. So you will find with the dies that they have like this little, I don't know if you can actually see this, it's got like a ridge bit. It's not really sharp, but because it's got the pressure going through it, it actually does cut it. So you end up with a circle that you can use on another project. So pop that to one side and use it somewhere else. And we now have that. So let's just move this out the way. I will give you a little tip with these, is you will find that your cutting plates end up really dirty looking like this, with lots and lots of score lines and cut lines all over them. Oh, excuse me. So make sure that you flip your cutting plates on a regular basis, because otherwise, I don't know whether you can see, this one is, hang on, I'm going to move the machine out of the way. So this one is just starting to curl very slightly. I don't know if you can see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to flip it around so that that one gets pressed back down again. So I shall pop that in, and you can, if your plates are curved like that, you can actually put them into your machine, wind it halfway along and leave it, and it will start to press it back down again as well. So we've got that now. I'm going to sit back down again. And the other thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of window sheeting, which is 9.5 centimeters by 11.5 centimeters. I will put this on my blog, so if you're looking for measurements, you can go looking for my blog, which is www, of course, .heathermccarthy.stampinup. No, it's not. No, forget that one. That's my shop. Okay. The other, actually, you know what? If you just Google being creatable with Heather, it will come up with all of my bits, which is really cool. I like the fact that it does that. Right. So you've got these 9.5 by 11, 9.5 by 11. So you do need a piece of clear window sheeting. You do need a piece of fairly stiff cardstock for the back piece. So I've used the thicker cardstock on this one. All right. What we then need to do is we actually need to create, so we've got to create a way for this to pull out, but not fall out when it gets to the top. So you'll see that mine has a bit of a thing there, and then it won't pull further than that. So that's what we're going to do, is create that. And the way you do it is you're going to take, hang on a minute, I'm going to fold it over so you can see this a bit better. So I'm glad to say that my background has centimetres on it, because I like working in centimetres. So I'm going to go at about 1/2 centimetre. Hopefully that's even. Looks about even to me. Or you could use a ruler if you want to. And 1/2 centimetre goes to about there. So then what I'm going to do is grab my scissors, which I've cleverly put away, and I just want to cut that 1/2 centimetre piece, and then I want to cut the 1/2 centimetre this way as well. Then if I grab out my that and that. So all I'm doing is just giving myself a little bit of a score line, because it makes it easier to fold it. So you want to fold that one back onto itself, that one back that way, and then this little piece here just flaps inside like that. And then hopefully, nope. This would be good if I got this going the right direction. Okay. Let's try that again. That way and that way. Okay. So then hopefully we can now cut this, and if we cut like a little section out of either side, it should then have a little section down the bottom here that will hold it in place. So what we're going to do then is we're just going to take, now I have left 1.5 centimetres at the top. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to say 1.5 centimetres at the top, and I've left a 1 centimetre gap at the bottom, and we're going to do that. And we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So I know it's a 1 centimetre gap at the bottom, 1.5 at the top. So that's the piece that I want to cut out from there now. So you can either cut it with scissors, or you can get your cutter involved, and trust me, it comes out way, what's the word I'm after? Straighter with your cutter. So potentially, if you wanted to, you could actually just take it and not even bother marking it up, so that you go down from 1 through to, what's it going to be, 11.5, 10.5, 10. And then we will just do same thing again, but this time we're going to go from 1.5 through to 10.5. There it is. So now all we can do is just trim those bits off like that. One. Potentially, if you just cut it straight with the machine, then you're not going to end up with any extra pencil marks. And it is quite easy to just cut it like that. And now I just need to rub out my pencil marks. So if you have pencil marked it, make sure you rub your pencil marks out. Oh, okay. That was interesting. A little bit. That bit will get covered up anyway, so we're all good. Oh. Okay, we've got that piece there now. And we've got this piece, so hopefully when that sits inside there, hopefully that piece there, do you see how I've got this little lip there, can fold through under that? And maybe. And then, yep, that's good. That's not now going to move out any further. Excellent. So we can now bring this around the front. And you want to position it where it's going to sit. So it is, you want that and that up the top. Fold that round and draw around this circle. Oops. Gee, I did that last time too. That's terrible. Let's just get rid of that. So obviously when you draw around the circle, don't do it too hard because you might end up with, oh goodness. Wow. Good job, Heather. All right. I'll just flatten it down. All right, you got that. Now, the next thing is you need to stamp on this. Okay, so let's bring the Stamparatus in. I have found that the easiest way to do this is to actually line it up with the Stamparatus. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, let me show you how. So you need to have this and you pop that into there. Stamparatus comes with 2 magnets. So pop your magnet into there. And now this set, they line up. So you'll be able to see those 2 little bits there line up with those 2 little bits there. But once you open it up, you just go, oh, I can't tell what lines up with what. So I have deliberately put marks on mine so that I can look at it and go, okay, I know now that I want that to go there, and let's put the small dot down the bottom. So in theory, this is meant to be the same. So I should be able to put, yes, to put it like that. So I'm going to leave that in that direction so that I know that it's going to be in the right place. All right, I've put this into the middle of my circle there, and I'm just going to pick that up. Don't worry if it moves the cardstock underneath, because all you need to do then is just move it back. Do make sure though that it's right into the middle, into the corner, because if it moves on you and you go to put the next one on and it's moved, then it's going to stamp in the wrong place. Right, so I'm going to bunk the system completely, and now I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo. Because, you know, I'm going to use Blushing Bride and obviously Calypso Coral. So there you go. Flirty Flamingo it is. And this one is looking remarkably wet. Okay, give me one moment. That is not what I want. That is going to be too wet. Let me just stamp that off onto a scrap bit of paper. That's not going to give me a really nice look because it's so inky, that ink pad. Right, so what I'm going to do to make my ink pad less inky, because with Stampin' Up! Ink pads, when you open them, they're always, the ink is always at the top of the ink pad, because that's the way that you store them. So as you open it up, you'll notice that that's the top of the ink pad. However, sometimes they end up with just a little bit too much ink on them. So what you want to do is grab a blunt. Do not grab a sharp item to do this. So I have an old ruler here that I use for doing this, but you know what? If you've got one of these and it doesn't have a sharp edge to it, you could actually just use one of those. The Stampin' Up ones don't have sharp edges to them, but I do know that some of them do. Some other companies have theirs and they're quite sharp, so don't use a sharp one. All right, so that will just push the ink down into the ink pad for me, so that I can now get a much nicer, clearer image with it. So that looks a whole heap better. Just make sure that's in the corner, press it down. And how beautiful is that image? I might just see if I can bring it up. Can you see that all right? Isn't that gorgeous? And that's just that one stamp. So I'm going to clean that stamp off a little bit. So all you need to do is tap it with one of these. This is, ironically, this is cleanish. Ish, I say, because I've used it a few times now and then it just needs a bit of a wash with water. So we'll take that piece off and we're going to add our next one, which is over here. So that's my next plate. Now we had the dot down the bottom. So what you can do now is you can actually just excuse me, I was going to shove my head in the way so I can see what I'm doing. I think that's not it. All right, I can do this, I can do this, I can see this. Kind of see it. It was easier with the darker colour, I've got to say. All right. So now you want your piece of window sheeting, that's the word I'm after, and you lay that on top of this, and you really need to use StazOn for doing this next bit, because StazOn will stay on. So let's just pop that down and hope that it's in the right place. Oh, that looks pretty good. I'm not terribly happy with the way the middle came out though, so I'm just going to re-ink that. That's much better. All right. So that's the other good thing with the Stamparatus is you can, so long as you've got it up in the corner and you know exactly where it needs to be, if you haven't inked something properly, you can just re-ink it, stamp it down and go, oh, thank goodness it's in exactly the same place. So let me just give this a bit of a clean off. That's going to be nice and black because StazOn does exactly what its name suggests and it stays on. Let me yeah, okay. I'll just pop those into the corner there. I'm going to move that out of the way and pop those over to there. All right, so we've got that and we've got that. I'm going to rub out my circle because I don't need my circle anymore. And hopefully I can do it without creasing this cardstock. Fabulous, I think that's just about gone. Excellent. All right. Oh, let's pop my lid on my StazOn. So the other thing I wanted to do was I actually wanted to add, you'll see here that I've actually added a leaf. So what colour am I going to use for my leaf? Old olive might be quite nice. I like old olive. So let me grab a bit of scrap paper and just pop. I'm going to stamp it off first and add that. And then I'm going to use this colour over top of it. And I probably should have done it the other way around actually. So I'm not sure I'm going to get it in the right place. Didn't quite manage to get it in the right place. It'll still look good. I'm going with it'll look good. Note to self, do it the other way around next time. So yeah, note to you guys, don't do what the teacher did. Because she was wrong. But I won't admit that to my husband. Okay. Right, so we've got, oh, got a nice bit of something in the middle of that. So we've now got those pieces there. Going to move those out of the way. And I also want to have some pieces here. So I need to have, didn't actually think of this when I was doing this, measure it up. So I need 10 centimeters going across ways and 10.5 ideally going down, although I can probably get away with, maybe I can get away with 10, 3 lots of 10, which is kind of convenient because this is just about 30 centimeters. All right, so want to score it at 1 centimeter. So let's move my cutter out the way and go score, and then cut it at 2 centimeters. Cut it at 2 centimeters. Then, now what did I say this was? Oh, probably need to go a little bit further over so I can actually see how far it is. So it's 30.5 centimeters, whatever that is, divided into 3. Excellent. That's just marginally over 10 centimeters each. So let's go 10.1.5-ish. 1, 3, come on. Oh, how good am I? All right, these will fold in half. Just using my fingernails there just to make sure it's nicely scored in half. All right, so that's my bits that I'm going to need there. Right, let's make up our card. This piece goes in behind there, in case you hadn't already gathered that, and that piece wants to tuck around the back. So just make sure that'll move in and out properly. So you can pop the tiniest double of glue onto there. Okay, you really don't want a lot, and if you think you've got too much, grab a sponge or your finger or whatever and just take that off. Okay, because that just needs to attach down onto the back there. Okay, excellent. Yep, that's moving smoothly, that's good. Right. Ooh, now I've forgotten which way up this goes. Obviously not that way. So this way. So the next thing you want to do is you want to grab some tear and tape adhesive, and you want a little strip of it along the top of this. Okay, so pull a little piece of it off like this. Don't pull the whole lot off in one go, because there's a good chance that if you do that, then it's not going to, then you're going to stick it down and go, oh no, that didn't work, ah, and it's all stuck in the wrong place. So you want to organize it so that the two images line up exactly, and then pull that off and pop it down. So those two images now line up exactly on top of each other. And that's where your magic is starting, see? Then we just need to decorate it all up. Alrighty, so to decorate it all up, might need to adjust that in a minute, but it's probably best if I show you how to adjust it up at the end. So let's add a little bit of glue to this one. I like my Tombow glue, so this is what I use the most. So let's add, so you really want this just to sit and cover the edge for you and keep the edge in place. And I've probably just stuck that on top of glue on my mat. There it is, so that's keeping that edge in place for us. This is definitely going to need to be adjusted, but that's fine. That's probably good because it does mean that I can show you how to adjust it. So a bit more of this, and we'll do, yikes, the next side. And this one here. And we can cover up the bottom. So don't worry too much if it's a little bit longer, because you can trim it down. It's not too bad. I will trim it very slightly because I can see that's just a little bit longer than I want it to be just there. So that gives us just a pretty border to it, really. Obviously you can get way more into decorating it. Potentially I might sponge around the inside of there if I was going to make it even prettier and things. However, we have yet to do the ribbon. So let me just, you will find that most ribbons tend to fray. Aha. And this one is no exception to the rule. So take your ribbon and determine how much of it you actually need. So we're just gonna, oops. I reckon about that much will do us. Yep, excellent. And I'm going to show you a way to stop the end fraying. Let's just do that. So what you do is you make sure that your tear and tape adhesive comes a little bit further than the end of your ribbon. That way, when you trim your ribbon down a bit, so cut your ribbon slightly bigger than you actually want it. Otherwise you're going to get into a bit of strife doing this. That way it'll stop it from disintegrating on the ends. So let's just pull that and that. So we will pop that onto that side there. And then we can wrap this around here. Just covers up this piece of tear and tape that you've got underneath there, because that's not, you know, the nicest thing to be looking at. So you could leave it like that, but I really like having a bow on my things. So I'm just going to create just a little bow. And ooh, we just fiddle around with the ribbon a little bit until we end up with a nice looking bow. I'm gonna pull mine a wee bit tighter than that, I think. I do find that if you hold on to the middle of it as you're adjusting it, it kind of helps things a little bit. So let us take that one. Oh, hello. Didn't want to go. And that one. Now, if your bow is not behaving itself and you're going, well, actually, that's really annoying. I wish that piece would come down a wee bit more like that. There is a way. And I'm going to show you, surprisingly enough. So take your tear and tape adhesive, because it's good for all sorts of different things, and persuade this to how you want it. That part off, and I'm just going to take a bit and do it going in the other direction as well, because then that way I have a bow that looks the way that I want it to look, as opposed to a bow that looks the way it wants to look, which is not necessarily the way that it looks best, in my mind at least. So then you can just pull this up a little bit, maybe, or not. Okay, obviously mine's getting slightly stuck. I'm just going to flip that piece out for the time being and pop that onto there. There we go. So that's in there. Now, you see how mine was getting a little bit stuck? I know that the back part is not getting stuck, but obviously this front part is. So I'm just going to slim down the edge here. And I'm actually going to do, oh, hello, it came back with me, it didn't go into the bin. That was a bit rude of it. I kind of thought it would just go in the bin and stay there. Obviously, it didn't want to do that. So I am going to do this to both sides, and I'm just trimming it up to that point that is matching on both sides there. See if that one will go in the bin. Yes. And then this part here, all you do is you just tuck it back into that little pocket at the front there, and then you have something that will move nice and smoothly up and down, and there it is. And you get to that part and it won't pull out because of the way that we've done that top bit. So if you send this off to somebody, they can't go whee and pull the whole thing out and then go, oh. And plus the fact it keeps a little bit of the magic there. So people can't necessarily see it unless they start sort of like tearing it apart and going, what's she done? How's she done that? Or there we go. So that is how you create a magic slider card. I hope you've enjoyed this today. Please do share my videos, because that way more people get to see them. And, you know, share the love. So that's always good when we get a bigger gathering of us. If it's your first time here, do comment and tell me what you thought of the video. If there's anything I can do to improve it, I'm always up for improvements. And if you have anything that you would like to see, then please do let me know that as well. Let's pop this one over here and this one over here, and then you can compare the two. Compare the pair, as they say on TV with the ad. So if you're in Australia, you can buy any of these products through me. If you're somewhere else in the world, I'm really sorry you can't. But you can still enjoy the videos, and I hope you do. And I will see you next Saturday. Thanks for joining me. Bye.